everybody, this is David, and if you haven't already done so, please be sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video, comment on this video, and most importantly, share this video, because what I've learned is there's always somebody that could use the information that you're putting out there. So today I want to just discuss a little bit about my RK25 tractor that I bought. There's a lot of things that I like and that I don't like about it. One thing I noticed is when I was searching for content on YouTube or other platforms, I couldn't find a whole lot of practical information from people that actually had one or were using it. I found some, but I wish that there was more content. So hopefully this video will be helpful in some ways, so let's get into this. First thing I want to do is I want to talk about some of the pros and the cons of the tractor. Like I said, I've had this for not quite a year, close to a year, and bought it at a local Rural King here in Southeast Ohio, and for the most part I've been pretty pleased with it. Briefly, just some of the things I love about it is, for my particular property, like I said, I have 20 acres. This thing is great for digging up tree stumps. Just this couple months ago we had a huge storm that blew through here, and I had several trees here. I'll show you real quick. If you look, there's trees everywhere on this property. And I had several trees that actually fell over and were just all over the property. So a buddy of mine came over, he bought a big old tie strap, and we were able to pull all these trees to one area of the property. You know, I mean, it worked out great. So for those kind of things, I love this thing. This particular model, the RK25, I think it's great for a property my size. If you've watched any of my other videos, like I said, my wife and I, we own a 20-acre property. I guess you could call it a farm, although we aren't farmers. Who knows, maybe in the future. You're talking to a former city boy here, so I'm still figuring all this country living stuff out. But anyway, it works out great. I ended up buying the one with the backhoe on it because I wanted one. I wanted the backhoe because of the fact that I knew there would be situations where I would have to dig. It was funny because not even a month after I bought it, I had a water leak somewhere, and I was able to use this tractor to dig down to where the leak was, repair the leak. I was so excited. Could you imagine if I'd have had to pay a plumber to come here, dig up, find the leak, dig it up, replace it, and put it all back? So from that standpoint, I was really excited about the fact that I was able to use this machine on the property here to do what it is I needed to do. So one of the things that annoys me about this particular tractor is right here. So this is like most tractors. You have the left brake and the right brake. It has this little locking mechanism here. I tend to keep mine locked, but the problem I have is when I lock the brakes, you push this down, you pull out the lever, and it locks the brakes in place. But the problem with that is every time I get off the tractor and I go to get back on, I almost always start driving because just that fast I've forgotten that the brakes were on. It's almost like an emergency brake. So I wish that they would make it where the tractor, where the tension was so strong you couldn't drive it. I don't know if it's just because the tractors are so powerful as it is that it would override any braking mechanism. I don't know. All I know is I wish they would create something, because what ends up happening is I have to go up underneath here every time I do that, because what happens is you start driving where when the brakes are locked, you start loosening the brakes. So I have to go up underneath here and tighten the brakes so that it'll hold itself on a hill or something of that nature. So for me, I just wish this was something that they had made a little bit better. To me, I see it as a problem. I know most people would say, well, just don't forget that you forgot to take the brake off. Easy to say sometimes, but if you jump off the tractor after you put the brake on and say you're in the front of it working, and then you go to get back on, you immediately lift up the bucket and start wanting to drive away. Next thing you know, shoot, the brake's on, because you can feel it pulling. So like I said, for me, it's a problem. That's what I would consider a con. Like I said, this is my review of my pros and cons of this machine. So another thing that annoys me is this lever right here. So most of you should know what this is for. Basically, if I have it in this position, it's allowing the hydraulic fluid to flow, and it allows me to have better function of the backhoe. This is basically where no fluid is flowing. And so it's got 3 functions here. So what happens is a lot of times when I get on the tractor, if I'm working on something, my leg almost always hits this thing and it kicks it back this. So this is in the position that it's in if I'm working on something. So what will happen is I'll jump in the tractor, let's say to move it, and I almost always hit that lever. Then I go to get off to operate the backhoe, and the backhoe won't work. So I'm like, ugh, it's driving me crazy. So I wish they could have made this where they put this in a better spot or slid it back a little bit more so my legs wouldn't hit it. And again, it's a little thing like this that's just annoying. It's just little tweaks that hopefully if Rural King is watching this, they could, you know, improve that. All they'd need to do is move that thing back about 3 inches and it would be amazing. I wouldn't even have that issue. So this was another issue I had with the actual tractor. It's not a huge issue and it's probably my own fault. I mean, no, not probably, it is my own fault. But typically when you get a brand new tractor or something similar to this compact tractor, you want to use it for everything. I mean, I was using it to push logs. I don't even think I've used it to carry gravel yet. I've used it to carry dirt. But this front end loader is amazing. I had these things in the front of the property. They were these big birdhouses that sat about 15 feet in the air. They were for the marlin birds. And the previous owner had built these things. I mean, you're talking 3 feet of concrete deep into the ground, this thick 15-foot tall metal pole, and there were 4 of them. So I wanted to get them out because to me they were an eyesore. So I'm thinking to myself, how the heck can I use my tractor to get them out? So I ended up using my tie-down strap to try to loosen them. And I used the front end loader to push them back and forth to loosen it. Then I used my tie-down strap and wrapped it around the pole to pull it up. But what happened that I didn't realize at the time was this bucket that I thought was some pretty strong steel actually bent it to where now instead of it being straight, it's kind of bowed like that. So I haven't figured out yet how to straighten it up, but I mean, I guess that I will because I like the fact of it being flat, especially if you're trying to grade something or if you're trying to scoop something. I mean, it hasn't been too big of a problem, but if you look at it, you can kind of see the bow. Can you see it? Can you see it? It just kind of goes like that. So again, like I said, it hasn't been that big of an issue, but just the fact that I know that I damaged it when I was trying to use it for what I was using it for. Now, don't get me wrong. Did it do the job I needed it to do? Yep, it did it amazingly. Those stupid poles are out of the ground. I was able to pull them up, but in the process, I didn't realize the weight of it actually bent the stupid bucket. And I don't know if that's something that Rural King can make better. They may just look at me and say, well, you need to quit being so rough with it. But I mean, I was looking at it as like, hey, this is a tractor. It's supposed to be able to take a beating, and you would think the bucket right here would be able to take a little bit more of a beating. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. So this is just a little bit of a warning. As you can see, I have used this particular tractor to push all kind of debris of trees, poles, just trash, you name it. And what I've learned is that you have to be careful with the front end loader, because what will happen is if you're not really familiar. Now this was my first tractor, so I wasn't really familiar with operating a tractor. It was basically learning on the fly. So one thing I want to add is it was a learning lesson for me. Now mind you, this is my first tractor ever. Okay, I'm not a farmer, I'm a city boy. A lot of this has been learn on the go. And in a way it's been kind of fun, but there have been some learning experiences that have cost me a little bit of money. One in particular, that if you're not a tractor owner and you're looking to buy one, like I said, these machines are great. You have to be careful when it comes to the bucket and the front end loader. And the reason being is I was pushing a lot of debris. The previous owner had a huge garden here that was overgrown and I just wanted to get rid of it. He had about 8 feet of wire mesh going all the way around it. He had concrete poles, you know, to support the fence, and concrete in the ground. I mean, it was a lot. So what I did was I used the front end loader to push a lot of this stuff into one big pile. And what happened is some of the stuff I was pushing came over the top of the bucket. I didn't even realize it at the time. It was bending the hydraulic lines. If you look right here, these used to be, if you see how straight this is right here, how straight it is, it used to be the same way down here. So what I ended up having to do, again, another learning experience, is I had to take all of this off. This part right here, this cover right here, so what ended up happening is I had to take the hydraulic cover off. I had to take these lines off and try to bend them as straight as I could. What's funny is I didn't even realize I had bent them. I don't know how the lines didn't break, but apparently one of the big concrete things came over the top, and I didn't even realize it had pushed on the hydraulic lines and the hoses. I mean, I was just basically beating the crap out of this thing. So I guess my warning is just be careful. Make sure that if you're doing something like that, don't do it like me. You know, make sure that you're taking your time. I think I was kind of in a hurry, just trying to get it all pushed into one big pile, and was thinking that basically just being a little reckless with the tractor. Thankfully, it didn't do a lot of damage, and I had enough common sense where I figured out how to, you know, replace the lines and do all that. So I was able to do that, and I've had no issues with it. But if you look closely, you can see, hold on, let me adjust this. You can see some of the dings on the hood, you know, from stuff falling on top of it. Just things to be mindful of if you're operating this thing. So that's not really a negative. It was just something, a learning experience for me, especially those of you that are first-time tractor owners. But overall, these things are not hard to operate. They are great. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about it. I love the compact nature of it. It's perfect for a small farm or just a few acres that you're trying to do things. I've already duggen up. I already told you about the water line break that I was able to repair. I've already duggen up a couple of the tree stumps from the trees that fell over. I was able to grade that area back down, plant some grass. I mean, it's worked out great for me, so I love it. Another thing I like about this bucket, the quick disconnect, it's amazing. You know, once you set it down, set it on the ground, you just release both of these quick disconnects, back your tractor away, it drops your bucket. You know, if like if you need to do some other kind of work to it, you need to come back to it. Loads up very easy. You pull right back up to it, to where everything lines up. Drop these back in place, bucket's back on. Super duper easy. Like I said, I love those kind of functions on the tractor. So I'm just going to show you how the bucket works, how the front end loader works, how the backhoe works, just to kind of let you see it in operation. On the RK25, this is your lever that actually operates the front end loader. Additional thing that's nice about this tractor is it has the self-leveling thing here. So basically, once this little notch is sitting in this little groove here, you know your bucket is level. Okay, so on this particular model, the backhoe seat, it's not like some of the other models where the seat spins around. This has its own separate seat that sits on the back. So I kind of like this function. So these here are your levers for your backhoe. This is for your outriggers. So your right outrigger, your left outrigger, then you have this operates left and right. This makes the arm of the go up and down. This one here makes the bucket go forward and come back up. And this one here extends the arm and actually opens and closes the mouth of the backhoe. I'm just trying to give you guys just a little bit of, what I have learned from having the tractor, and just kind of what it looks like, how, some of the pros and some of the cons, how the functions work, so you can see it in real life action instead of watching a video on TV. I've learned from owning this tractor for the last almost year, a couple of the pros and cons, and again, I'm still learning, I'm still figuring it out, so there may be more to come down the road. I did do the 50-hour service on my own, which was actually pretty easy. What it entailed, you have to stay up on top of the services on these tractors, or it could almost void your warranty, especially for this particular, for the RK tractor. So make sure that you stay on top of your service or maintenance intervals, very important. I'm hoping that they don't ding me because I didn't bring it in for the first one, but I have proof that I did it. It's basically changing the hydraulic fluid, the oil, the filters for the hydraulic fluid, the transaxle fluid, things of that like that nature. And it actually went pretty well. It was not as hard as you would have thought it would have been. So like I said, that's it for this video. So hopefully it was kind of helpful to kind of let you see it in action. One thing I will say that drives me crazy before I close out this video, I just thought of it. The location of the gas tank, it's horrible. Okay, hold on, let me show you. So if you look here, you can see the gas tank right here. So here's the problem with that, is you're holding a heavy 5-gallon can, trying to set it up here in a way where it's not awkward to pour gasoline into this thing, the gas tank that sits behind your seat. It just, I've done it a few times and I can't tell you how many times I've spilled gasoline. I even thought about going out and buying like a siphon thing that you put in, and almost similar to, where it would crank in the diesel fuel. It would make it a lot easier. But the location right here for this particular gas tank is horrible. Like I said, I can't tell you how much gasoline I've wasted trying to maneuver this heavy 5-gallon tank. And like I said, next year I'm probably going to get me a siphon that'll probably make it a lot easier to do, to fill up the gas. So hopefully this was helpful. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment on this video, share this video, please. And until next time, I'll see you.